As stated really before, I'm going to read a little bit here. As stated before, the allegations are something we're extremely concerned about here. I think we've acknowledged that fact as we've gone through this. One of the reasons, probably the primary reason I have not met with the press prior to this is because of that fact. We wanted to respect the process and everything that goes along with that. As outlined before this, I want to reinforce we took immediate action. Said that in our statement before. Immediate action by suspending those involved as soon as we were notified of the situation. Action is separate from the ongoing criminal and administration investigations. I've always tried to talk when I've come up here at any point and juncture, whether it's beginning of spring practice, beginning of fall camp, a situation like this, really talk about who we are and what we've tried to do since coming here in 2007. And my goal in coming here was always to foster a program where there was accountability, that there was integrity, and that there was class in everything that we tried to do. From winning to how we lost on the football field, everything involved. And that will remain in place as we move through this. And as difficult as it is today to stand up here, those are the things that we have to remain, in effect as far as Mark Dantonio is concerned. That we always talk and try and come before people and give honest and transparent answers to questions as best we can. And I want to also emphasize as best we can relative to everybody involved in this situation. We've got high standards of conduct here. We always have. We've gone to great lengths to maintain that. We've gone to great lengths to educate our players on and off the field, socially, on the field in football, and then certainly in the classroom. Great lengths. Systematic approach in those type of things. Not just a check the box type of thing. Serious conversations about what can take place and what could happen when things mount to a certain level. Again, we want to respect the process. I can't say that enough through this whole situation. When the first statements came out from President Simon and then from Mark Hollis, at that point in time, I didn't make a comment on that because, first of all, you know, I work for them. We work at a university that there's a structure and there's a hierarchy and there's a level of command, I guess, as we go through this. So the statements that they made were acknowledging the problem that we were having at that point in time. The initial statement that I did make prior to spring practice was, again, to reinforce our core values and to acknowledge what was going on and the seriousness of the entire event, I guess I would say, or whatever. It's been an extremely challenging time for all of us. I don't think there's any question that it's impacted our program from how we do business on a day-to-day basis with you, to how we do business internally, to how our players are interviewed, to access to our spring practices, to everything that we've done. And again, that's because of the process that we've been involved in. I think to stand up here and talk about who's going to be our quarterback right now is trivial compared to what we're dealing with. That's why I've not wanted to do that. Didn't want to come up and talk about spring practice, to talk about depth charts or those type of things, because I thought it was unfair to the investigation as a whole. And so we refrained from doing that. We've always tried to take a very systematic approach here, and that's again what we'll do as we move to the next step. The reason we're talking today is because of spring practice, not really spring practice, because of the spring game. Obviously, I anticipated that this would be sort of finalized to some extent, just in terms of the investigative process, but that's not been the case. So, because we have a spring football game on on Saturday, because it's a community event, because we have a huge youth clinic that last year drew, 1,800 young people. Wanted to come before everybody today and just sort of step out in the light a little bit. So that's what we've tried to do. I've stood up here in the highs and the lows. I've stood up here and after winning a Rose Bowl or a Big Ten championship. I've also stood up here at very difficult times before. That's never going to change. That's something that's just going to have to, that's the hat I wear. So as I do this today, you know, obviously we've had very good times here, and we've had some low points, and obviously these are difficult times. But I also think that this is an opportunity to recenter ourselves as a program, as people, and take direction from whether it's myself or anybody else in that capacity and move forward. I've always said that, I always will.